quantitative, if there is a possibility of say following a mixed method, how would you do? So these are the things that I would like to look at today. So do you see the Research Onion presentation on your screen?
Yes, Miss.
Yeah, I will quickly go through. In our last class, we discussed about the Research Onion, which is the framework given by Saunders. So in the Onion, you find that you have to in a very nice sequence, choose the philosophy, then your approach, then your strategy, and likewise. So here you have the 4 philosophies in the very outer layer of the onion. Okay, anybody choosing a philosophy would look at 3 different things, that is the ontology, epistemology, and the axiology. Okay, so if I explain you what is ontology, epistemology, ontology is what you think about the reality of the world. In other words, do you think that say all the problems would be explained with the available knowledge, theories, or else do you think that no, whatever the problems cannot be explained through a universal reality, it has to be something that is unique to the problem context. So therefore, you can't apply any theory anywhere kind of a say manner. So therefore, ontology has subjective ontology and objective ontology. Okay. Then you have the epistemology, that is what you think about the knowledge. So here again, you look at say where the knowledge is and how to acquire the knowledge. So you may think that knowledge is available in the literature, or else you might think that no, literature can't have the knowledge about the problem that you are looking at. It has to be say found from the context of it, where you have to do a detailed investigation to find it, right? So there is therefore, you may be having a more detailed investigation, or you may be having a testing theory kind of a research. Axiology is your own value system. I said example is you as a researcher might think that, you have to say do the research on your own, do the data collection, say, and then you on your own you have to look at the data, and you think that you should do a say detailed discussion with the respondents, say one by one say discussions. Likewise, or else you might think, no, why should I bother? I can employ somebody else to do it, so I can be away from it. So each and every person has different values. So based on that also you might select your philosophy. So as you can see this striped onion, can you see on the screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah. There are lots of students who think that ontology, epistemology are research philosophies. They are not. As you can see, there are three, say, small circles, ovals, outside the onion. So ontology, epistemology, axiology are not part of the onion. They are outside. Based on that, you select your philosophy. So that's how you go into the research onion. So in the research onion, you find that there are four different kinds of philosophies. So positivism is a philosophy where you think, let's say, you believe in a very structured approach. So therefore, you think that, say, you have to collect data with a structured questionnaire, right? And therefore, you have to bring in statistics and you have to have large samples. So when you think about structured, obviously you have to start off with something available, with an available, say, theoretical framework. So therefore, you start from, theory and testing theory kind of a approach in your next layer. So positivism, as I said, involves a very structured approach, whereas the complete opposite of it would be an interpretivism approach, where you think that you have to look at the perceptions of people who are there, and then look at, how they think about it, how they perceive the problem. So you think about interviewing and discussing to find the viewpoints. Realism is where not only limiting it to interviews, you might even think of observing and sometimes a researcher participation in the research. So I gave very good examples here where some social scientists think of themselves taking part in the research. So they sometimes even disguise and stay with communities to understand their living. That's the kind of thing we look at here. So then you have pragmatism, where you don't think in where there is one ideal approach. Yes, you don't think that it should be either inductive or deductive. You think that the best approach, depending on the circumstances, should be adopted, even by mixing. So most of the mixed methods approaches would originate from a pragmatism philosophy. So that's how the philosophies can be explained. So as you would understand, most of your doing the quantitative research would start from positivism, and those who purely believe in interviews would fall onto the interpretivism section, and those who think of mixing the two would be the pragmatism philosophers. Whereas in the second layer, you have deductive and inductive approaches. As you all know, say, deductive approach is you start from the, say, theory, and you think of testing the theory, whereas inductive approach is you rather, say, start from the observations and then go on testing your, go on developing your patterns, and then you think of developing a theory at the end. So deductive approach would have these steps, as you can see on the screen: theory, hypothesis, observation, confirmation. Because you test the theory, either accept it or reject it, whereas in inductive approach, you start from observations, develop patterns, and then have your tentative hypothesis, and finally theory. So now you will see that if you say, look at the next layer of the onion, those who have a positivism philosophy are likely to step into deductive approach, because they think of a very structured approach which is well within the testing theory kind of a approach. So then those who have interpretivism philosophy would fall into the inductive type of approach. Those who are pragmatism holders will uh, think of combining the two. So in your case, what I mostly see is that, say, you start off testing the theory, but later on you think of following it up with interviews. So still you have a greater weight towards the inductive approach, but you think of following through that and elaborating it more, right? So then you have the next layer of the onion where you have 7 different research strategies. Experiment is where you have very strict controls of the rest of the variables. As I explained, say sometimes when medical experiments are carried out, you find that say those who participate in the experiment are randomly chosen and put into 2 groups in such a way that both the groups are having the same demographic characteristics in the respondents, say in terms of ages, in terms of gender, in terms of other demographic characteristics. Then to one group you can give the drug, and to the other group you may see that they are given something which they don't know whether it's a drug or not. So that's the way it is being carried out. So you see that there is a lot of control that has to be followed in this kind of research. So that's the main characteristic of experimental research, whereas survey research is where, as many of you all know, distributing questionnaires to large samples, and of course therefore you have to bring in statistics to analyze your data. Then your case study research is ideally you sometimes choose a company and look at a problem in more detail, or else you choose a group of companies and look at a particular problem in more detail. So sometimes you find that there is a quantitative qualitative mix coming in here. Action research, grounded theory, ethnography are research strategies which are very much unlikely for us, because action research involves implementing action, then collecting observations, and then say based on the observations taking the next action, and likewise grounded theory is highly qualitative, where you collect data at multiple stages of time to look at how a particular say problem is say prevailing, or how say that can be solved. Ethnography is the social science kind of research where you look at how people say different communities how they are faced with certain problems and what kind of strategies they have adopted to get away from the problems, and likewise. Then archival research is where you do your research purely based on secondary data. So that's how the strategies are. Mono method is research where you adopt only one. Let's say it is quantitative only or qualitative only. So research which is purely done based on a questionnaire is a mono method quantitative research. Which is purely done based on interview findings is a mono method qualitative research. Let's say you have mixed method, that means you have both quantitative qualitative mixing. Multi-methods meaning you're either quantitative or qualitative, but you have multiple sources of data. For example, you collect data through observations and you collect data through interviews. So you collect data through survey, or and at the same time you are analyzing secondary data which is available with another source. Then the final layer is your time horizon, where you have the cross-sectional and longitudinal time horizons. Cross-sectional is where you collect your data at one point of time, and longitudinal is where you collect the data at multiple points of time. So that's how you can explain the onion. So what is inside the very core of the onion is about data collection, and then how your sample is chosen, in other words the sampling techniques, and how you decide about the sample size, and what your data collection instrument is, what methods of statistical techniques do you follow. So those things you have to explain there, and specific techniques of say testing the reliability and validity of data. So all that comes there. So what happens is, now if you don't follow the onion, for example, some students try to say follow dissertations done in, for example, other universities, and they copy them. They don't know how to follow the onion, so they start off saying that I'm going to collect data using a questionnaire, I'm going to collect data, analyze data using statistics. So that means the entire say section from philosophy to time horizon you have missed out because you don't know about it. So you see, you can't come to the core without explaining all these things. So it's very important that you carefully explain this in a very logical manner, right? And my advice to you is, please don't follow dissertations in other universities. To my knowledge, everyone who steps outside get lost. So if you want, you can say have a look at dissertations in our university. Hopefully things will come under control soon, but till then you can of course do your work in choosing research problems and likewise. So that's basically what the research onion is. So we are there to continue with the data collection methods and so on. So I'll step into the research design framework of Uma Sekaran. So then it takes a bit of time to come to the screen. I don't know why. The file is open, but it's not shown in the screen for me to choose. That's the issue I have. Can you see the research design framework shown in the screen?
Yes, miss.
So research design is the framework presented by Uma Sekaran and Roger Pugi. So you can see that it has these sort of say sections, and based on those he's describing the particular research design that has to be taken. So initially he says that any research can be described based on the purpose of the study. For example, there can be exploratory research, descriptive research, hypothesis testing research. What he means by exploratory research is, you can see, uh, uh, say, is a valuable means of finding out what is happening, to seek new insights, to ask questions, and to assess phenomena in new light. So, very clearly, he is looking at qualitative type of research through this type of investigation. So, exploratory research basically is involving all very qualitative type of research, right? So he says, conduct into a research problem or issue when there are few or no earlier studies conducted. Techniques used are case studies, observations, historical analysis. Approach is usually open. So basically, he puts in all the qualitative type of research into this exploratory research category. The next you can see description. So what do you mean by description? Uh, Here, the key characteristic that you have to look into is you're looking at describing the situation, not necessarily looking at testing relationships. Example, you're looking at, okay, in terms of demographics, say what categories are there, say on average, what is their level of perception about, say, a certain product characteristic. That's all. But you're not trying to sort of test relationships. So it's basically you're trying to get a clear picture of the situation, sometimes mostly before collecting data. So now, when I described in the research onion, I said that archival research is a research strategy, and to some extent, I discouraged you all considering that as a research strategy. The reason is, you might not actually find data clearly fitting into your initially developed conceptual framework. That is a problem here. So that kind of research is really good. If you want to identify further, say, a topic to do further research, it's a good idea. So I'll come back to once again this the example that I showed you. Okay, uh, so here you can see, right? This is what I discussed with you: contextual analysis of the industry-wide wise gender wage gap in Sri Lanka. So this was completely done based on data collected from the Census and Statistics Department. If you look at this, this is the gender wage differences in based on educational levels, considering the sectors agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. So you can see that there is a significant gap of ages between men and women. Okay, based on all educational levels, and in fact, it's surprisingly, say when educational level is more higher, you see greater wage gaps, right? So this is even more surprising because you find that when it reaches post-secondary education, there is a significant gap in ages, and a similar situation is shown here. But the post-secondary level here, you find somewhat insignificant. So now when you look at these things, you can pick other research topics to find, for example, why is it like that? Okay, so that's the kind of thing what you mean by descriptive research under this Uma Sekaran's viewpoint. Okay, so coming back there, that descriptive research, and then coming back to what we were looking at once again. The next is hypothesis testing. So when you say hypothesis testing, I have already done a lot of examples with you about say different types of variables you have, independent, moderating, mediating, and how you formulate hypothesis and say how you express your hypothesis. So relationship between two variables, or say in a medical context, whether the say the research, whether the drug is effective or not. Okay. So now you're having here hypothesis testing research likewise to test the sort of a prior say assumption in your context. Okay. So here you may have two types of investigations, that is say when you test hypothesis, it may be experimental type of situation, or else it may be say you conduct a consumer behavior study where you without any control you test the hypothesis. Okay, so coming on to the next one, you have types of investigations. Number one, causal and correlational group differences. What do you mean by causal relationships? This is the say type of research where you make a lot of controls. Okay, you make a lot of controls, and then you want to test something to find beyond doubt whether the say the change you have made has resulted in a difference. For example, to one group you give the drug, and to the other group you don't give the drug. So, if there is any impact by the drug in curing the disease, then the group that was given the drug should show say the results accordingly. So that's called a causal study, because you make such a lot of controls because you want to see beyond doubt whether there is an impact or not. However, correlational studies are where you don't make any controls, but rather you test the relationship. So these are the typical the type of research strategies where you conduct say surveys. For example, you distribute questionnaires, collect data, but you're not making any controls there. You're merely testing the relationships. Okay. Then there was something called group differences. That's the kind of thing that you can think of. Sometimes conducting qualitative research also, you find whether one group has a different viewpoint and another group has a different viewpoint. You can come with the same thing, just with the example that I showed about the gender-wise wage gap also. Okay, do the males have different salaries than females? Are there differences between the two groups? That matters there also. So that's where he looks at research based on type of investigation. Then you have extent of researcher interference, where you can see minimal and then maximum or sometimes moderate levels of interference. So once again, when you look at interference, you see if you conduct a correlational study, what do? You just distribute the questionnaires, collect your data, and then analyze your data. Do you control anything? No, nothing, right? What do you mean by excessive interference? You control everything that can make an impact into your results. So the only thing that changes is what you say administer as a change, right? For example, you want to test whether a particular fertilizer is effective in the growth of chili plants. So what do you do? How do you conduct this as an experiment? You develop two different beds of chili plants where you have the chili plants with the same height, with the same level of health, and then you plant the same number of plants, but you have to make sure that the two beds have the same level of sunlight, same water conditions, same soil conditions, and then same humidity. All that is the same. except that to one bed you give the fertilizer, to the other no. So now you have excessive control here, right? You have control everything, right? So that's what you mean by excessive control. When you say moderate interference, um, so these are sometimes called quasi-experimental research because you are not implementing your controls to the maximum level. Rather, you uh, uh, say, for example, you choose two different supermarkets, okay, and then you try to I'm trying to find whether I have it now. You try to introduce into one buy one get one say offer, and to the other one no. So here you are having some kind of an interference, but you can't control the kind of people who come to the two supermarkets. Let them be what they are. So that's the kind of thing you have moderate interference. Okay. So coming back now here, right, we were in this box, the third one from top right. Now, with respect to this kind of interference, if you look at Umasekaran's book, actually speaking, Umasekaran goes on to explain this a bit more detail, right? In this study settings in the next box, right? Once again, in the fourth box, he says contrived and non-contrived study settings, which is well connected with what was discussed under the extent of research interference. So he explains the study setting like this. When he said contrived, right, those are studies done under artificial setting. Now that's the typical thing that I was talking about with the medical experiments and with the experiment to test the effectiveness of fertilizer with the chili plants. Non-contrived meaning you conduct under natural environment where you don't may have any controls, just like you distribute the questionnaires, just like you conduct interviews without making any interference. So then you know what is correlational and causal studies. Correlational meaning you're conducting the study to test the relationships between the two variables without making any interference, whereas causal is where you try to test the cause and effect relationships under strict, say, manipulation. Now, when you look at the study setting, these studies can be further described as field studies, field experiments, and lab experiments. When you say field studies, these are conducted under no conditions at all. So they are called non-contrived settings. So that's called field studies, right? Correlational studies conducted under, say, the normal, say, conditions are called, hold on a second. So you have the field studies, which are correlational studies conducted under non-contrived settings. What do you mean by field experiments is where you have some kind of a mild interference, just like the buy one get one free testing offer. Lab experiments is where you conduct the research under strict control. So that's how you can describe research based on the study settings, right? So you know that your research is going to be conducted under non-contrived settings, and they are correlational studies which fall under this field studies category, okay? Or else, say, I mean, what I'm looking at is the if you conduct qualitative research. Okay? So Then if you look at once again uh, uh, the next box on the bottom level layer, you have the very first box, that is the unit of analysis. What you mean by this is where you have say uh, uh, to identify across what level the data aggregates. Okay. Now, imagine if you are doing a research where you're testing the consumer's loyalty towards a particular, say, brand of product. Now, you ask, right, the say the product characteristics, whether there is a to what extent the product is like say leading in the market, to what extent you have some kind of a emotional say attachment to the product, and likewise, and then to what extent you keep on repeating buying that product. So now you're connecting the independent dependent relationships across one single respondent. Okay. Likewise, look at the research which is conducted to test the employee retention in a company, where you ask them, say, what do you think about the rewards of the company? What do you think about the career advancement opportunities you enjoy in the company? What do you think about the say the working environment you have? To what extent are you having plans to live in this company or to continue your career in this company? Now you see, you ask the independent dependent relationships from the same person. So you have the X and the Y connecting across one person. So this person is the unit of analysis. Now look at this example. These days, you can think of, okay, what countries take the most strict measures to control COVID-19, and to what extent those countries have been able to control the number of cases reported. Okay, so what is your unit of analysis here? You look at each country. Okay, so to what extent that country has taken measures, to what extent have they been able to control the spread of the virus, right? So your unit of analysis is the country here, right? So that's how you define your unit of analysis, right? Then the next shaded box is time horizon, where we discussed in the research onion also. You have the cross-sectional studies where you collect the data one shot. All of you will have your research falling into this category, because you have to conduct your research within a given period of time. Then you can find longitudinal studies where you collect data over a long period of time, stage by stage, right? Now you can see a set of unshaded boxes, one talking about the sampling design, the other one is the measurement and measures. That is, again, you can see sampling, then how you say, it says coding and preparing and so on. Then the data analysis, goodness of data is where you test the reliability and validity, and then hypothesis testing. Then the data collection method is again described under observations, and then physical measurements, which of course observations are mostly related to the qualitative research. Sometimes structured observations are also made, whether you can go on tick, tick, tick based on whether certain phenomena is there or certain conditions are there, then you can say have the last layer, right? The hypothesis testing, which we all know, and on the sampling, the different methods of sampling we have to look at. So the unshaded boxes you can see is all that is described, all that is indicated under the core of the research onion. Okay, that's how you can map the two. Now, my question is, you can give all your viewpoints. You may have different viewpoints, of course. Out of these two frameworks, which one do you like? I'm waiting for your answers. Hello?
Onion structure is good.
Which one do you like? Which one? Do you like the onion or this one? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, I'm waiting. I want your viewpoints.
Onion seems to be more structured and easy to understand, it seems.
Yeah, because you find it's very nicely starting from the broad viewpoint and focusing on to the specific viewpoint, correct? And you keep on filtering your choice at each layer in a very nice sequence. Okay, what do you think as positive viewpoints in the research design compared to onion? What do you think as good in research design compared to research onion?
Design structure having data analysis field for data like this.
Yes, I would say this one is more specific about the sampling design, the goodness of data, data collection methods, and likewise, this gives specific indications. But all of these things are put inside the core of the onion in the onion framework. So that part is more detailed here. Which one is more unbiased? I find Sekaran is more biased towards quantitative research. What do you think? I think he is very biased towards quantitative research because if you look at, he has say indicated this unit of analysis, and he has looked at say hypothesis testing very specifically, and this say controlling, all that comes under a more structured approach to the research. Okay, so he focuses on those things. He looks into qualitative research, whereas when Saunders has considered, say, grounded theory, ethnography, the action research, all of them are highly qualitative. This fellow has put all of those combined together into one simple word called exploration. Okay, so he seems to be a bit more biased towards this quantitative research, because he's talking about hypothesis testing and causal correlational relationships and so on, a bit biased towards quantitative research. The other one that I have a strong feel that he is into quantitative research viewpoint more is the unit of analysis specification. So I said that's where when you try to connect the X and the Y, you find this unit of analysis has to be known in advance. But if you actually look at qualitative research, this definition does not apply to qualitative research, because we look at to what extent people say have their perceptions about a certain say concept, and to what extent do they think that two sides are related. Likewise, we don't have a unit of analysis described in this respect. There actually the unit of analysis is sometimes defined as the smallest theme that you find, which I will be explaining when we do qualitative research. So this is the difference between the two viewpoints. You see, to some extent there are similarities as well. You know, the two authors seem to have placed different levels of emphasis on different aspects. So that's how we have. So now I hope you have some you know, a clear understanding about the two aspects. So I would now start off discussing a series of topics with you so that you all have a clear understanding about each of these say frameworks, and of course to find how you can think about formulating your own viewpoints towards the say approach taken to your research. Okay, can you look at this? I want you to tell me, when you look into this topic based on the research onion framework, what is your, say, the philosophy, the approach, and then likewise how do you describe your viewpoint? I want all of you to give me your viewpoints. Okay, I'm waiting for you. Yeah. Okay. Have you thought about? Students, are you there? Yes. I hope you can see my screen. Can you?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, miss, yes.
Of celebrity endorsement on purchasing behavior of young adults, looking at the beverages. Okay, I'll explain the problem a bit more so that you all can give your viewpoint better. So once again, the topic is impact of celebrity endorsement on consumer purchasing behavior about young adults of Sri Lanka for beverage, right? Beverages. So I'll show you a few examples, right? If you look at this, you see Angelo Matthews endorsing Milo. Here you see Chaturika, right? This was, now you see a different celebrity. This was some time back, somewhere in 2013-14. Then you found Roshan and his wife came into this advertisement. This is where Coca-Cola is being endorsed by Bhatia and Santosh. Then Malinga with Pepsi, and Viva endorsed by Sangakkara. And you find many foreign celebrities, as you can see on the screen. So what we want to look at in this problem is, okay, there are lots of beverage brands endorsing celebrities to promote their product. Do people actually think about the endorsement when they choose a beverage, right? One can argue saying that, okay, maybe to some beverages it works, but to some it might not work. Here we have looked at any beverage. Okay. That's the problem I am putting across to you. Okay, coming back, I want your viewpoint now. Okay, look at the onion, right? And then tell me. So this problem has been approached with the development of this conceptual framework. Actually speaking, there are quite a lot of theories, about 3-4 theories are found talking about what characteristics a celebrity should possess for the endorsement to be successful. For example, the celebrity obviously should have a good appearance, should be very attractive, and then trustworthy, right? So, you know, so if someone who has lost the trustworthiness is considered, it won't be successful, because people will look at the brand or look at the product with the viewpoint of the person endorsing it, and should have expertise and well-known popular person. Okay, if these characteristics are there, you think, okay, that could affect the purchasing behavior, right? Now I am hold on a second. ඒ ගියේ අපේ අය නෙමෙයි. ඒ පෝස්ට් එක. මේක තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉන්නේ. මහරගම යකි. So now coming back to once again the onion framework, I'll show you so that you can look at it better. Okay, this is your onion. Can you see the onion framework on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, now I have given you a very clear explanation about the problem. I want you to tell me what your choice is. What's your philosophy? What's your philosophy? Sorry?
Realism.
Huh? I can't hear.
Realism.
Why?
They're having objective research matters.
Uh-huh.
Therefore,
What did I say? What kind of research is conducted with this viewpoint? I said sometimes the researcher participates, sometimes the research is made mostly through multiple methods like say observations and interview findings. That kind of research is is conducted through realism philosophy. I want the viewpoints of others. I'm waiting for you. I want answers. I want your answers. I'm waiting for you. If you all are not interactive, we can't do this now.
That is interpretivism, madam?
It's like this. If you look at interpretivisms, say that's where you look at the perceptions of people. Okay, how people think about certain things. So interpretivism is conducted mostly based on
Objective.
say interviews. Is that
This is more like observation.
why do you make observations? Do you make silent observations here? How do you think you can collect data? How do you think you can collect data?
You have to collect from a mass population. It's not limited to a number of people because it's
Absolutely correct. I like that answer. So you have to collect data using a large population. Then what will be your data collection instrument?
questionnaire sort of a thing.
Absolutely correct. When you collect data using questionnaires, say, then you address a large population, your approach will be very structured, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be
Yes.
structured.
So then what's your philosophy?
Positivism, madam.
Absolutely correct. You see now how you made your thoughts, okay? Right? So that's your philosophy because it has a very structured, say, approach, right? So you think that, say, you follow the positivism philosophy, right? Which is a very structured approach. So obviously, therefore, it would start by looking at existing theories. දැන් මම conceptual framework එක පෙන්නනකොටම මම හොඳ hint එකක් දුන්නා. මම කිව්වා මේවයි theory තියෙනවා. theory වලින් තමයි මේ කියන විදිහේ එකක් මම මේ හොයාගෙන තියෙන්නේ කියලා. හරිද? So obviously you're using theory to come up with this conceptual framework. So therefore, what should be your approach? Inductive the නැත්නම් deductive?
That is inductive, madam. Starting
Inductive
from observation.
inductive යන්නේ කොහොමද?
Starting from observation.
දැන් observation වලින් නෙමෙයිනේ ඔයා data collect කරනවා කියන්නේ questionnaires වලින්නේ.
Yeah. Survey again.
එතකොට කොහෙද යන්නේ?
Starting from theories, yes.
අන්න හරි. දැන් theories වලින් යනකොට inductive ද deductive ද?
Deductive.
deductive. දැන් එතකොට යන approach එක මොකද්ද? theory. ඊට පස්සේ hypothesis testing නේද? එහෙමනේ මම කිව්වා මම පල්ලෙහාට යනවා. එතකොට මම මොකද්ද කිව්වේ? hypothesis testing, observations, confirmation. දැන් ඕකනේ approach එක. හරි. එතකොට ඔන්න දැන් අපි approach එකත් හොයාගත්තා. දැන් ඊළඟ layer එකේ මොකද්ද යන මේව එක?
Survey.
ඈ?
Survey method.
අන්න හරි. එතකොට survey survey method එකට strategy එකට තමයි අපි යන්නේ. හරිද? හොඳයි. ඊළඟට අපි යනවා අපේ choice එකට. So what is our choice?
No method.
Mono method.
Mono method.
One time.
Mono method quantitative. Okay. Hari? Okay. Then cross-sectional the longitudinal.
Section.
Cross section.
A cross-sectional.
Mono method.
It's
Ah?
one time we collect data.
අන්න හරි. අපි ගිහිල්ලා මේක 10 වාරයක් කල් කරන්න යන්නේ නැහනේ. එකපාරයි. හරිද? So that's how you go through your research, explaining the research through the onion. එතකොට අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් මෙන්න මෙහෙම දෙයක්. හරිද? I am with positivism, deductive, survey, mono method, cross section. දැන් හරිද? හරිනේ? Okay. How you can say explain your research through the onion. Okay. Right. I will now give you one example again. Something like this. Yeah.
they have a large population and
Absolutely. Absolutely.
positivism is isolated.
අන්න හරි. අර කලින් ගියපු approach එකමයිනේ.
Yes.
හරිනේ. So what do you think of this? හොඳට බලන්න topic එක මම විස්තර කරන්න. This was looking at large corporates වල තියෙන recruitment process එක දිහා බලලා okay ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ දැන් තියෙන මෙන්න මෙහෙම දෙයක් say sometimes when they recruit people they find that although they take many steps they sometimes don't recruit the correct person because the people have this faking behavior. You know, they can say that they possess certain skills and abilities, but when they actually are not, right? So therefore you find that this is applicable where දැන් මේ ඇත්තටම අපි screening process එකක් තිබ්බට අපිට හරියටම ඕන කරන කෙනාව ගත්තද එතකොට ඒක ගන්න තියෙන recruitment and selection process එකේ තියෙන say preventing and detecting mechanisms are they successful? That's the research. Now you tell me how you set about with it. කියන්න බලන්න. Okay. තාම නෑනේ. දැන් මේකට මේ mass population එකක් ඉන්නවද කතා කරන්නේ?
No.
නෑ. කාටද කතා කරන්නේ?
Specific people.
කාටද කතා කරන්නේ?
Only to the candidates.
Candidates කට කතා කරලා හරියනවද? දැන් candidate කියයිද මං හොර වැඩේ කරා උම්මාන්ට අහු වුණා කියලා කියයිද? එහෙම නැත්නම්
HR, yeah, HR guy in the company.
ටීව් එක යන්න ඕනේ HR පැත්තට. කාටද දැන් කතා කරන්නේ?
Head of HR. Oh, those who are in.
එතකොට අපිට දැන් මේක we have to talk to head of HR. හරිද? So then do you think that say this can be a structured kind of a research?
No, it is based case by case, like it's not structured.
You can't have a structured approach to this because අපි දන්නේ මේකේ මොනවා තියෙද මොනවා වෙලා තියෙද කියන අපි දන්නේ නැහැ. Right. So because of that we want a detailed investigation into this study. දැන් තේරුණාද හිතපු විදිය? So we would go towards a qualitative type of a study, not a quantitative type of a study. Okay, right. Now, keeping that in mind, I'm back again with Daniel. You tell me the path.
Interpretivism.
Excellent. You choose interpretivism because you look at the perception. අපි මේ වැඩේ කරා ඒක අපිට වැඩක් වුණාද? ඒක අපිට කරලා වැඩක් වුණ නැති ඉඳ අපි ඒක modify කරාද? Like that. Okay? So you have to interview people. Then
Inductive.
inductive. Why is it inductive? Because you start from the observations. You look at your interview findings, and then you look at, okay, in common, do these large corporates have common ways of approaching into this problem, and to what extent are those approaches successful? So what is your next step? The research may approach.
This case study.
Case study, right? So you have separate cases, right? මේකට අපි ඇත්තටම කියන embedded case study කියලා. ඒ මොකද හේතුව අපි එක එක companies වල තියෙන පොදු එක problem එකක් අරගෙන කරන්නේ. එහෙම නැතුව අපි මේ හැමෝටම තියෙන මේ කියන්නේ company එකක් අරගෙන ඒ company එකේ අපි හැම දෙයක්ම කතා කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. Then you find the next layer is if you perform it using interviews only, then obviously you will have say mono method qualitative research, and of course the other one obviously is cross-sectional study. So that's how it is. Now I'm going to give you another example. This one. I will, maybe I can give you a quick explanation about it. Look at this, okay? You find that these large retail apparel stores, right, even the small ones, use these techniques to, as the visual merchandising techniques, to say improve their sales, okay? Right? I hope you can see the screen, correct?
Yeah, we can see.
So here you can see how it has evolved, say in the past, and then how it is today, okay? So do all these techniques make, to what extent do these techniques make a person do an impulse purchase against a rational purchase? What do you mean by rational? You have to, let's say, look at the price, look at the quality, look at the, brand or whatever. But against all that, when they are presented in a nice way, you get that temptation to buy and so make a purchase, right? So that's what is being looked at in this research. So this is the framework that I showed you. දැන් මේක onion එකෙන් කොහොමද යන්නේ? හරිද? Okay. Yeah. How do you, what's your approach to the onion?
You have to collect data from a large number of customers.
Right. So what's your pathway through the onion?
So it's a questionnaire, positivism.
So it comes down the line.
Deductive.
Pardon? What's the philosophy again?
Positivism.
Positivism. And then comes to what?
Deductive.
Deductive.
Very good.
Survey.
Survey.
Mono methods and
quantitative.
Hurry. Mono method, quantitative, and then
cross-section.
Cross-sectional research. Okay, one more. Something like this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm waiting for you. Then hold the done. Okay. Have you thought? Then make mono. You're looking at the ICT adoption among the Sri Lankan say SMEs in the retail apparel industry. So then if you look at these IT adoption in terms of theories, you do get quite a lot of theories. Actually, you get a lot of theories. Then also, if you look at the companies, I mean retail apparel industry in SMEs, good enough. But you can also think of mixing, right? So you can ask them, when you adopt ICT, do you think about the relative advantage and the observability, complexity, the new business opportunities? So මේ දේවල් ගැන අපිට questionnaire එකක් දීලා ගන්න පුළුවන්, right? Through the SMEs, yes. We can also follow up the findings with the interviews to get a deeper insight. එතකොට අපිට කැමති නම් quantitatively විතරක් කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. කැමති නම් අපිට මේක මේ දෙක මික්ස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? So that's how it works. Right? So if you are doing it as a quantitative research or as a mixed method research, then මට කියන්න මේකේ කොහොමද ඔයගොල්ලෝ යන්නේ? If it is quantitative, you know the path, no? Positivism, deductive, survey, mono method, cross-sectional. If it is mixing, where you would like to have a quantitative research and also a set of interviews.
Pragmatism.
So you go along pragmatism, but you're still වැඩියෙන් in the theory පැත්තනේ, because we develop the conceptual framework. Right? So then it comes a case study. මොකද අපි එක එක කම්පැනි එකක් ඇතුලේ කොහොමද මේගොල්ලෝ එක එක දේවල් ගැන හිතුවේ එහෙම අහන්නත් පුළුවන්. You can actually speaking the මේ case study and survey කියන දෙක combination එකක් මෙතන තියෙනවා. හරිද? strategies දෙකක් එතන එනවා එතකොට. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට case study කියන එක ඇතුලේ survey එකක් යනවා කියලා කියන එකක් කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඒ දෙක combine වෙන එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. Then you obviously come to mixed methods and then come to cross sectional. Clear? Is it very clear? Any questions? I'm waiting for you. Yeah. Any questions? Okay. So I have actually a lot more examples. So I will give you a break. It's about 10:30 now. Yeah. In how many minutes would you like to come back?
In 15 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah, අපි නම් 10:45 වලට meet වෙමු. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
අද මේ ලින්ක් එකෙන් එක දිගටම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට යන්න පුළුවන්.
හරි මාලියා.
හරි.
හරි මාලි හරි.
අපි අලුතෙන් account එකක් ගත්තා.
මේකටම ගත්තද?
ඔව් නැත්තම් කරදරයිනේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට 45 minutes නේ ඒකේ දෙන්නේ. ඒකෙන් හින්දා අපි මේ purchase කරා අපිට දැන් පැය 24ක් වුණත් එක දිගට යන්න පුළුවන්.
හරි මාලි, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you මාලි.
Can we start? Are you all there?
Yeah, madam. I think we have 8 parts.
Yes, madam.
Okay, so I'm coming back to the next one. What about this? We're looking at those family-owned businesses, let's say in the second, third generations. What do you think? Do you have hundreds of them?
Only few number of firms.
Absolutely. So, so it's going to be a qualitative research, correct? So you run from interpretivism to inductive to then case study to mono method qualitative to cross sectional. Okay, this one. Okay, this was conducted in the Putlam district when this student was working, and it was found that say some of these say small scale business people don't come to finance companies or banks, but they seek finance through other informal sources. So that's why they have so this study was conducted, right? So how do you think this can be done? Your viewpoint?
You can use questionnaire here as well, madam.
Absolutely correct. You can think of doing it in both ways, because you can use the questionnaires and give questionnaires to people or these entrepreneurs, and you can also think of say conducting interviews as to why they seek other say type of financial sources. All right, so in that case, in the onion, you would be going along pragmatism. Okay, right? So if you think of the most, say, likely method would be you think of doing it quantitative, but you think of at the same time, say, following it up with interviews. So it's going to be, say, more deductive, but kind of a inductive, say, uh, flavor coming into it as well, right? So it will be there for pragmatism to deductive to sometimes case study if you mix the two, right? And then you find it mixed method research, okay? But well, it's actually a time horizon wise cross-sectional research, okay? This one. What do you think?
Positivism.
Yeah, very clearly, it's positivism related research, okay? Say, then you start from positivism to deductive to
Sorry.
survey. What about, say, say, if you conduct interviews with the, say, the business, the managers of Kellyfield, what kind of thing would you assume it to be? What do you think it could be like? Yeah. Then it would be, right, a case study kind of thing combined with the say survey, right? So it's again, you can say it's positivism. Sorry, it's pragmatism if it is combined, but you can still say deductive, and then you can say a case study with a survey, and then you can say it's a mixed method research, but still it's going to be a say single cross-sectional time research conducted. Okay, so it's, I mean, you can suggest in both ways, kind of. This one. This is looking at performance evaluation. So we check the performance evaluation through or measure it through goal alignment, multi-rater feedback, coaching, development, recognition. So that's how the components of performance management system would appear. Then how it makes an impact on employee engagement. Who is the unit of analysis? Yeah. කාගෙන්ද මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ආන්නේ? Who will be the respondents to this? Evaluate වෙන්නේ කාගේ engagement එකද මනින්නේ?
Senior managers, managerial grade employees of a large scale corporate.
අන්න හරි. එතකොට you look at all managerial grade employees. එතකොට you have a fairly large population here. හරි. So say therefore you can actually think of a combination of the two, but you can definitely do a survey where you can make a questionnaire to ask ඕගොල්ලෝ කොහොමද මේ කියන එක එක mechanism එක එක section එකෙන් evaluate උනේ and to what extent you are engaged in your employment. So it has a quantitative element definitely, and if you wish to, you can combine it with a qualitative element as well, in which case it becomes pragmatism. Quantitatively alone would be a positivism to deductive to එහෙම. Okay. This one, AML stands for anti-money laundering. Okay. This is anti-money laundering. So, what do you think?
Its population is not large, madam.
Very true. I like, because now you get the idea as to how to pick your approach. So even if you look at a bank, you find that මේ හැමෝම බැංකුවක වැඩ කරපු පළියට මේ කියන එක කතා කරන්න දන්නේ නැහනේ, right? So you find your respondents would be those who are into compliance. Okay. So and again, you really don't know how this kind of thing ever happens in Sri Lankan context. Say perhaps most of the information is say not known to everybody. So definitely it can't be quantitative. It has to be qualitative. If you wish to එක compliance departments වල ඉන්න අයව වැඩියෙන් ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් 10 දෙනා බැංකු 10ක් විතර ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් yes, you can do a quantitative, but I don't recommend the qualitative element to be dropped off, because that has to be there. We still don't know what's going on in Sri Lankan context. So if you do it qualitatively alone, it will be the interpretivism to inductive to case study to say monomethod qualitative to cross-sectional. If you do it qualitative, make a quantitative main research එකක් වෙන්න බෑ කොහොමද? You can do it qualitative, but try to get the viewpoint, because it's very difficult to run a correlation here, So it will be more of a, say, still inductive, but you have to say that, okay, you're trying to do a survey, because in your inductive research, as you go on interviewing people, there is a very high chance that although you initially thought of these things to be to start off with, well, there can be things that you never thought of which will come into the scene. So you have to be very open. So because of that, it will be still pragmatism to inductive to case study to mixed methods. Okay, right. What about this? I have actually a lot of them make command at the පන්තියක් වෙලාව අරගෙන මේ discuss කරාට examples, or do you like me to step on to the next part?
It's okay, miss.
It's okay.
Because you know, I want all of you to really master this without just rushing through it. That's why I have about more than 25 examples here to just discuss with you. What about this?
I like describe example.
Sorry?
I like going this way.
All right, okay. What is the
Population is large, miss, so you have to go for a question here.
Yeah, we are very true. So it's going to be a quantitative research. Okay. Right, good. Here, now, if I introduce the problem this way, what happened just before we had curfew? Just before we had curfew, you remember there was an incident in Sri Javadanapura University. What was it?
Yeah, some tire was thrown on a student and was admitted.
The student was critically injured because of something happened there. Right? So when things like that happen in universities, what happens to the operational efficiency? They experience these interruptions. Never? So if the universities think about the risk, okay, factors and evaluate them in advance, they can control these kinds of situations by taking appropriate precautionary mechanisms. It is very much valid even to the private sector educational institutions. A good example is SITEM. Okay. And there you must have heard that there has been several incidents with other private sector education, higher education, say institutions where the foreign university has withdrawn the license. So this kind of incidents have also been reported. So in that case, you know, in both parties, we see that this not evaluating the risk is leading to these problems, because when they know how to identify the risk factors and be prepared, this kind of interruptions will not be there. Then ඕක කොහොමද කරන්නේ? මේක නම් මේ ඇත්තටම කියන්න මේ ultimately we did it for the state sector higher education institutions. Okay. Then කොහොමද කරන්නේ? දැන් මං හින්ට් එකක් දෙන්නම්. යුනිවර්සිටි එකක වැඩ කරන හැම එක්කෙනෙක්ටම මේකට උත්තරේ දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? Just because you being a university lecturer, do you think you can actually know these things? The mechanisms or the detailed, say, actions that are being taken in line with this?
No, you can't.
Okay. So, therefore, we find that this has a very high element of qualitative research. Therefore, this is a qualitative research because of interview findings වලින් තමයි මෙතන ගොඩාක් හරිය මේ ගෙලිච්චේ. Okay. So then it becomes inductive research because අපිට මේකේ respondents ලා හරිම සීමිතයි who are capable of giving a proper answer. Okay. Okay. This was done with the insurance agents. The problem was that the employers say employees find that they are not being provided with appropriate talent management. දැන් ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් මම employee කෙනෙක් නම් මට පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේනේ හිතන්න if the organization manages talent well, then I should realize, okay, where should I be within another year, then a couple of years. If I'm going to stay in this organization, what would be my career progression in future, right? So that is because organization recognizes the talents and places the people who in the positions that can best use of their talents. So when that is not there, the employees find that it's their future is not clear. So then they don't complete their life cycle within the company. Okay. So what do you think? Quantitative the qualitative කියන්න පුළුවන්ද? Can you? I'm waiting for you.
Qualitative?
It's a quantitative one. Okay. Because you have a large population to focus on. Right? So it is a quantitative research. I said it's among the insurance agents. So you find this talent management theories also on one side to test with them, and these independent variables are all derived from those theories. Okay, so it's quantitative. This one, MNP, is Minneria National Park. What do you think? Who will be the respondents? Who will be the respondents? I'm waiting for you.
Visitors?
Partly. Then Mama you say you go to this national park. Are you in a position to comment about the sustainability?
People working there?
Very correct. Both of you are correct partly because you have here different stakeholders connected to the issue. You will have to talk to the park warden. You will have to get the viewpoint of the visitors. You will have to talk to the safari drivers, the environmentalists, those people who are running the small petty kades. Okay? Understand? So there
Yes,
are
Miss.
people connected to the sustainability of this whole park. So, then කොහොමද වැඩි යන්නේ?
Wildlife Authority, Miss.
Yeah, that's what I said. Wildlife Authority, very correct, right? So all these people, we will have to interview. මොකද මේක ගැන detailed investigation එකක් එහෙම නැතුව කරන්න බෑ. Right? So,
Yes, ma'am.
same time, one of you suggested visitors. I would say no. We can give a questionnaire to the visitors to find their viewpoints. Say whether they were able to see animals, right? And whether the facilities are good, the sanitary facilities and all are good, okay? Whether they are satisfied with it. Those things we can ask. But other than that, the inside story, we can't get from the visitors. So it has to be those people who are connected with it, right? So it is an inductive research mainly, but you can get the visitors' satisfaction through a survey because visitor population is large. But the main research has to be not quantitative but qualitative. So it can be interviews alone, in which case it will be interpretivism to inductive to case study to it's something like a holistic case study. ඒ මොකද දැන් මම මේක holistic කිව්වේ දැන් අපි මේ තෝරගන්න එක ඇතුලේ එක පැත්තක් ගැන විතරක් නෙමෙයි අපි බලන්නේ. හැම පැත්තම බලන්න ඕනේ. හැම පැත්තටම අයිතියත් එක්කලා අපි කතා කරන්න. So then it will be monomethod qualitative to cross-sectional. If you think of combining with the quantitative one, we can still say inductive, but small element of deductive research can be brought in, but still the rest will be the same. So that's that. This one. This research was conducted with 15 companies in the apparel sector, and with each company we tried to check the culture that is there, මෙතන cultural elements 4ක් තියෙනවා. So which culture is most prominently found within each company, and how the employee retention is. When you look at clan culture, it's a culture where you find employees are treated like friends, right? Then advocacy culture, market culture, hierarchy culture, these are cultures where you find, for example, if you take market culture, is a culture where people are driven to achieve targets. And hierarchical culture is where you find sort of a lot of rules and regulation. Adhocratic cultures, you find, sometimes they look forward to have innovation, that kind of. So which cultures promote employees to stay more? So we looked into 15 organizations, studied this, which cultures map cultures then we looked at the employee retention within that company, actual rates a culture map then make a we collected data from employees, because this is machine operators, obviously it's a large population. So we gave questionnaires, then companies say 30 employees selected from each right? So or let's say 50 employees selected from each so we get a viewpoint about each company, which culture is mostly seen. In some cultures, you find this clan culture is more dominant. In some companies, you find market culture is more dominant combined with the hierarchical culture. Dominant cultures companies cultural characteristics Samara cultural characteristics, then clan culture characteristics, employee retention the market culture cultures employee friendly cultures characteristics retention that was the kind of relationship we observed. So again, then we try to see good companies and bad companies in terms of retention, and then in good companies, what culture was most found, in bad companies, what culture was most found. So, then මේ culture කියලා කියන කෑලි හතර හොයාගත්තේ culture model කියන theory එකේ. හරි? So there was of course a theoretical underpinning very strongly, and of course the quantitative research මොකද එක පැත්තකින් actual data අරගත්තා employee retention company එකක් ගානේ අනිත් පැත්තෙන් ඒ company එකකින් ගත්ත 50 අරගත්තොත් එහෙම 50 මට මතක නෑ 30 වගේ ගත්ත එක there were 15 companies. So ඒ ගත්ත ගාන then අනිත් පැත්තේ ඒ ගානෙන් එන response එක අපි mean එකක් හදලා ඔක්කොටම හරියන එකක් ඒක company එකේ retention එකත් එක්කලා correlate කරපු එක තමයි මේ research එකේ කළේ. එතකොට ඕගොල්ලෝ මොකද හිතන්නේ දැන්? We conducted a few interviews as well with the HR managers. What do you think? I'm waiting for you. Are you all there? Are you there?
Yes.
Yes, madam.
I'm waiting for your response. It has a very strong quantitative element here because of culture theory එකත් අරගෙන බැලුවා හින්දා. But it was a case study because we took these 15 companies and then we looked at what culture was dominating in each company. Culture එක ගන්න අපි culture එක මොකද්ද තියෙන්නේ කියලා බලා ගන්න survey එකකින් තමයි හොයාගත්තේ cultural characteristics වල dominant cultural characteristics මොනවද කියලා. So this was a quantitative type of a research. හැබැයි මේකට qualitative පැත්තක් අපි ගෙනාවා. One is through interviews and the other one is we were trying to see what culture is more dominant in the good companies and the bad companies. So here you find that it's somewhat of a pragmatism. හැබැයි මේක මේ more towards deductive, whereas Mineria National Park was more towards inductive. It was that of course was a completely inductive research. So here you have the case study, the makeup case study, makeup case study. නමුත් මේ දෙකේ වෙනසක් තියෙනවා. When I explained case studies, I said there are two kinds of case studies, holistic case studies and embedded case studies. Then another categorization is single case studies and multiple case studies. When you say single case study, you take one organization. When you say multiple case studies, you take multiple organizations. Now, if you look at the previous one was a single case study. This is a multiple case study, obviously because we are taking 15 companies. But in the previous example, I said that you talk to, as you suggested, environmentalists and park warden and wildlife authorities and all these, say, people who are connected with the park to get a holistic viewpoint. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක ගැන තියෙන හැම ඇන්ගල් එකකින්ම අපිට viewpoint එකක් ඕනේ නැත්නම් sustainability ගැන කතා කරන්න බෑ. නමුත් මෙතන case study වුණාට මෙතන තියෙන්නේ අපි මේ company එකේ employee retention එකක් culture එකක් කියන පැත්ත විතරයි කතා කරන්නේ. වෙන අපි supply chain වල operations management or marketing or whatever it is, we are not focusing about multiple aspects of any one of those companies. Such studies are called embedded case study. So earlier one was a holistic case study because we looked at multiple angles, but here it's an embedded case study because we look at each one of those companies with a very focused view towards culture and the retention. Okay, so this is also a case study. And of course, the qualitative mix was found. So it's coming along from pragmatism to deductive to case study to mixed methods to cross-section. Clear? What do you think? Actually, the dependent variable, the arrows should turn the other way around. It's the same industry, somewhat the same story. Earlier one we looked at the culture. Here we are looking at the leadership styles. Which leadership styles would affect the organizational performance more? Okay, so it's just like the earlier one. Which cultural characteristic would promote the employee retention more? So it's the same approach. Okay, it was the say multiple case study but embedded case study because we are looking at the leadership style alone, but we came into this with a lot of theories. Make a culture කියන එකක් තියෙනවා. You can see it's a moderator, and these these leadership styles were taken from a model called full range leadership style model. Then performance was measured through the balanced scorecard. So it had a very strong theoretical backing, and the culture, the same core cultures were looked at. So it was say, coming from pragmatism but to deductive to case study to multi-method kind of thing. Okay, I'm waiting. Here, the business performance of these startup businesses, right? The question is, they were like incubated. Say they were given a financial support. So the question remained, okay, given that they had some kind of a support financially, so has that given them a proper helping hand for them to, with that helping hand, have they reached their expectations? That's the way, right? I'm waiting for you. Yes, I'm waiting for you. Can you? Is it more towards quantitative or qualitative? දැන් මේ විදියට venture engine competition එකේ හම්බ වෙච්ච අය ගොඩාක් නෑනේ නේද? And startup businesses also, say not everyone received this incubation. So it's a qualitative research. Okay, so based on interviews, we asked, okay, given how do these things affect and what other things affect, and in detail we wanted how. So it was a qualitative research purely based on interviews that was conducted. Okay, right? So I'm waiting for you.
This is more quantitative, madam.
Very good, very good. It's more quantitative. Actually speaking, these variables were found from a lot of theories, there were quite a number of theories related to tourism, and it was more into quantitative, but there was a qualitative element as well. We interviewed the hotel managers. Okay. Quantitative or qualitative? උත්තර දෙන්න credit card holders ලා. හරිද? Okay.
The large population.
Yeah, it's a large population. It's a quantitative research. You see, it's a clear-cut quantitative research because we ask people about their purchase decision. මේක ඇත්තටම කියන්න මේ local tourists වලට වඩා foreign tourists වලට aim වෙච්ච research එකක්, because there are tourists who actually say look forward to stay in these green hotels, right? So to what extent is this green marketing being say adopted in Sri Lankan context? But at the same time, we collected data quantitatively and qualitatively from the hotel managers as well. So it was mixed. Okay. This research focused on you see a lot of people visiting coffee shops for various reasons, like say some people go for socializing, some people go to study, just for relaxation, or to have a meal, various reasons. But of course, even though there are many other alternatives, people tend to choose coffee shops specially because of some reason. So that we looked at whether sensory branding of the coffee shops make people say get attracted towards the coffee shops and choose coffee shops among other alternatives for the purpose. That was the research. So the sensory branding was looked at the sight, smell, sound, taste, touch, because you see that the inside of the coffee shops with the, I mean, people don't go there just to have a snack or just to have a meal alone, but say the colors, the lighting, the music, the themes, or the say the interior, the comfort, everything matters. So that's what is looked at. කවුද දැන් උත්තර දෙන්නේ ඔකට?
Consumers, those who are going there.
හරියටම හරි. එතකොට it is a quantitative research. This was looked at where, say, you all know that we have experienced several situations where investors lost confidence in investing in these non-banking financial institutions. Say, starting from Golden Key incident to Sakwiti to various others. So, did all these things make people move away from the financial, non-banking financial institutions to other sources? Hari? කවුද උත්තරේ දෙන්නේ? කවුද උත්තරේ දෙන්නේ?
Those who are investing in the
Investor තමයි උත්තරේ දෙන්නේ. So you have many investors who have their funds in these non-banking financial institutions. So from them you get the response. Therefore, this is a quantitative research. The topic itself gives the respondents. Who are the respondents?
IT graduate.
IT graduates.
So obviously you have a large respondent base. Therefore, this is a quantitative research. However, the research looked into where, say, to what extent did these IT graduates have the personal characteristics, including the identity, image, and positioning, and how did that affect the branding, and how did personal branding affect the employability? In other words, if you're having a strong personal brand, then you should get your dream job, right? So that was the idea behind this. So it was looked at from two different perspectives. One is the employees, the graduates' perspective. We took those graduates who came up with their first employment, okay, soon after passing, and so then on one side we interviewed the recruitment managers, right? So two perspectives, but we developed the framework based on theories into personal branding. So it was more deductive, but it was mixed. Understand? Now here, if I tell you how the research was conducted, you see that it was, say, where we asked each branch, හරිද? දැන් leasing හැම branch එකෙම leasing offer වෙනවනේ. එතකොට දැන් ඒ අපි branches හිතන්න 50ක් ගත්තා නම් ඒ 50 එකකින් officers ලා 5 දෙනෙක්ව questionnaire එක පුරවා ගත්තා නම් we have 250 respondents, but the 5 respondents in each department were say ඒ responses පහ අපි aggregate කරනවා ඒ branch එකට එකයි. හරිද? එහෙම නැත්නම් මේක කරන්න පුළුවන්. You give one questionnaire to each branch manager. හරිද? And then ask to what extent is are these things practiced in your branch, right? And then a branch එකේම non performing ratio එකත් එක්ක ඒ මේ independent variables වල responses අපි correlate කෙරුවා මෙතන. හරිද? So that's the way we did. දැන් මම මේකේ ඕගොල්ලෝගෙන් අහුවොත් එහෙම what is the unit of analysis here? Yeah. What is the unit of analysis? Say, if I put it across this way, හරිද? ඒකත් පරිස්සමෙන් හිතන්න. දැන් මම මේකේ මෙහෙම ඇන්දොත් මේ විදිහට. Right? This is my NPA. මේ පැත්තේ මම අඳිනවා periodically updated credit assessment policies. I will say policies. කරක් දුරට update වෙච්ච policies ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගාව තිබ්බත්. So the more you have it, the more you should be capable of controlling the NPA. හරිද? Okay. So you plot each branch. මේ තියෙන්නේ මේ branch එකේ policies ඒගොල්ලෝ follow කරපු තරම. මේ තියෙන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ NPA එක. This branch had this much of follow up with the policies. This branch has this much with the, practicing of the policies, and their NPA was so much. එතකොට අපිට තිබ්බ වෙන්න මෙහෙම which is showing a downward trend. What is the unit of analysis? We connect the two sides. The independent dependent connection is made through each branch. අපි NPA එක ගත්තේ branch එකට. ඒක නිසා unit of analysis is each branch. දැන් මම මෙහෙම කිව්වොත් මේක කවුද unit of analysis? අපි correlate කරන්නේ එක එක graduate ගේ තියෙන employability එකයි ඒ graduate ගේ තියෙන personal characteristics. තේරුණාද? Is it clear? Are you there?
Yes.
Why is that you all don't respond? So what is the unit of analysis for this research?
Each graduate.
Each graduate, right? If you look at with respect to each graduate, we have the employability here, we have the personal branding here. So we see those who are strong in branding have better employability. With respect to each graduate, we have the dots. Hari? So here, what is the unit of analysis?
Investors.
Very good. Here,
Consumers.
very good. Here,
That is employees.
employee නෙමෙයි අපි මෙතන ගත්තේ company එක. because එක එක company එකේනේ culture එක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ.
Okay.
We took the අපි employee ගේ පැත්ත නෙමෙයි ගත්තේ. We took, okay, we have taken 15 companies. So say if you take the clan culture, company එකට එක culture එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ culture එක, this is the culture. So ඒ cultural characteristic එක මෙච්චරක් තියෙනකොට අපිට retention එක මෙච්චරයි. මෙච්චරක් තියෙනකොට retention එක මෙච්චරයි. So we had it like this, where we had the company as the අපිට companies 15ට dots 15ක් විතරයි යන්නේ මේකේ. අපේ ඔක්කොම ගත්ත responses එක company එකක 30ක් ගත්තා නම් ඒ 30ේම average එක තමයි company එක represent කරන්න අපි අරගන්නේ. හරිද? So one last, okay, what is the subject area of this? Is it HR? Is it organizational behavior, project management, change management, operations management, supply chain management? Mukadme.
Mainly on operations management.
Very good. It's operations management. So here you see this is looking at how this sitting work assembly line when it is transformed to the walking work assembly line, has it improved the productivity? So we asked from each respondent, to what extent that particular person was more fitting along with this transformation, and has it improved the say efficiency in terms of performance, say ඒ පැත්තෙන් එයා improve වෙලා තියනවාද අන්න එහෙම එකක් තමයි අපි බැලුවේ. So here say actually speaking මේ දීලා තියෙන විදිහට නම් say we looked at the qualitative aspect as well here, but quantitatively අපිට දෙපැත්තම ගන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද අපිට බලන්න පුළුවන් ඒක කොච්චරක් දුරට ඉන්ඩිවිජුවල් කෙනෙක්ට ඒක ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරන්න පුළුවන් වුණාද, එයාගේ effectiveness එක හොඳ වුණාද. Organizations අරගෙන බැලුවොත් ඒ several organizations ඒක ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරපු අයට කොච්චර දුරට ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කළා, organizational performance එක කොච්චර දුරට වැඩි වුණාද. Both ways can be looked at. Right. So I had a very long say example session with you. Right? So I hope you have got some ideas about deciding your research design. Right? දැන් මේ හැම එකකම බැලුවහම දැන් ඕගලන්ට පේනවා ඇති if it is a quantitative research, once again I'll for a couple of minutes go back to Umasekaran's viewpoint. If it is a quantitative research, always it happens to be hypothesis testing, correlational, minimal investigation, non-contrived, and then unit of analysis we discussed, always cross-sectional. So if it is described using Umasekaran's perspective, and the qualitative research means that, right? But look at when you are doing a or quantitative research means that, right? If it is qualitative research, then බලන්න මෙයාගෙන් කියන්න බෑ ඒක. දැන් අපි exploration කියලා කියනවා. Exploration කිව්වා මේක causal උත් නෙවෙයි correlation උත් නෙවෙයි. Group differences වලින් අපිට exploration සම්පූර්ණයෙන් කියන්න බෑ. Then minimal interaction, non-contrived හරි. නමුත් unit of analysis කියන එක අපිට මේ qualitative research වලදී it doesn't make much sense, right? I'll take just a couple of more minutes. If you look at some of the topics that we have discussed, right? I now emphasized on what is unit of analysis. Now see, in this research, we can't think of unit of analysis. එහෙමනම් අපි අහන්න ඕනේ මේ company එක කොච්චර දුරට prevention detection තිබ්බද, ඒ company එකේ ability එක කොච්චර තිබ්බද. But එහෙම අහන්න එක නෙමෙයි ඒකේ තියෙන වැඩේ. අපිට ඕනේ මේක වෙන්නේ කොහොමද මේ ලංකාවේ කියලා කියන එක තමයි අපිට වැඩි කන්සර්න් එක. So the unit of analysis doesn't make much sense here. Look at, say for example, this kind of research also, we are more worried about digging into details, but අපිට දෙපැත්ත කනෙක්ට් කරගන්න මේ each individual business කොච්චරක් දුරට මේ දේවල් තිබ්බද කොච්චරක් දුරට succession planning තිබ්බද කියලා correlate කරන්න අමාරුයි. Because we have few businesses, but we are digging into more details. And if you look at, say, මේ වගේ එකක් කිව්වත්, it's very difficult. So the unit of analysis interpretation of Umasekaran also, it doesn't seem to be much applicable with the qualitative research, right? So that's where we stand. I want you to ask questions now. Any questions? I want you to ask good questions. Anything that you didn't understand? Your questions, please. So no one has any questions. That means everyone has understood everything perfectly well. So I think I don't have to, so I won't have any problems when you're doing your dissertations because you seem to be experts. Okay. Right. So in our next class, I'm planning to look at the core of the onion, where we have to focus on the sampling techniques. You already have some idea about the sampling methods, which was done in the for the statistics class. And then we have to look at the methods of testing reliability and validity. So for the next class, that's what I have planned. If time permits in the next class, I might step a bit into the quantitative data analysis. In that case, are you all having SPSS with you?
Yes, I have.
Others? I don't. SPSS, huh?
I have. Yes, I have.
Because
I haven't got it.
Because I gave to everybody when we did the statistics assignment. So you all didn't get it installed those days? What are we going to do then? If you can, I'll see whether I can find a link and send you to download the version, because I can send it across also. Yeah, let me see in that case what I can do. So, okay, then I'll stop there and we'll meet up next Saturday morning. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, madam.
Thank you, miss. Thank you.
Okay.
දේශානී
ඔව් හිමාලි කියන්නේ.
මේ ඔයගලන්ට මේ MPO ලෙක්චර් එකක් 4ට කරන්න පුළුවන් වේද? සර් මගෙන් ඇහුවා කොහොමද ඔයගලන්ට?
කට්ටියගෙන් මහමු නේද?
මට අහලා චුට්ටක් කියනවද දේශානී? ඊයන්ට.
හෙලෝ. කවුද හිමාලි?
ඔව්.
අපේ කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා මං හිතන්නේ මේකේ. අපි කට්ටියගෙන් මහමුනේ.
දේ සංජීව විතරයි ඉන්නේ අනිත් අය ගිහිල්ලා.
ගිහිල්ලාද? හරි මං කන්ෆර්ම් කරන්න. අද හවසද?
4ට තමයි සර් ෆ්‍රී වෙනවා කිව්වේ. නැත්තම් ඕගලන්ට වෙන ටයිම් එකක් ඕකේ නම් මට බලලා කියන්න. හරි.
හරි.
ඕකේ.
Okay, thank you.